So I've actually had to deal with a lot of um, ostracism by the black community. Um, Even from the south side of Chicago to South Dallas to South Central LA, pretty much I faced a lot of ostracism by the black community. Like they don't like this cross on my face, they don't like my tattoos, and a majority of the situations that I'm having to deal with is not really about social life or about dealing with black men or whatever. It's pretty much being treated like I'm less than, like I'm a second class citizen, like I've been typecasted for life, typecasted by the black community for being out of life, for being out of order, for nobody helping me. Let her help herself. That's pretty much how it is. Even here in New York State, don't help her, don't help her, let her help herself. Let anybody else, yeah, they can get back up and they can do whatever they want to. It's pretty much being treated. And like I said before, I'm going to go ahead and make this real clear and real easy. I am in no way her family members, her associates, friends, or anyone associated with her. So I'm just gonna have to put her out there like that because she does look very, very similar to Erica, my mother's cousin. So I'm gonna go ahead and get you guys caught back up. But like I've been having problems with dealing with the black community and being ostracized and criticized by the black community because I'm single, because I'm broke, because I'm poor, and because I'm not up to par with anybody else. But I tell you what, who's gonna run for who's gonna be the next president's office is who the black community supports. Let me tell you right now who the black community supports the most right now. And he's up in lead marches right now for president of the United States. I have lots of friends in the queer community and the gay community. But this is right now who the black community wants as the next president of the United States. This guy right here. This guy. That's who the black community wants as the next president. Pete Buttigieg. Because he's a white guy, because he's rich, he knows what he's doing, he has experience, he has the policies, he has all the experience to back him up. He doesn't have any problems with relationships, but you know what? He's gay. And you know, most of the black community is very, very conservative. Very, very conservative. Why wouldn't they support Biden? Because nobody wants another Obama. Nobody wants another Obama. Why wouldn't they support Elizabeth Warren? Because people don't want a woman president. We're still not ready for a woman president. Even if she's white, we're still not ready for a woman president. Why don't they want Bernie? Bernie's too old. Why is the United States not ready for a woman president? Why is the United States not ready for a woman president? Why are we not ready for a woman president right here? England, the United Kingdom has had one or two, three female prime ministers, Margaret Thatcher and Theresa May, who were great leaders to lead the country through depression and to lead the country to make a decision whether they want to stay with the European Union or not. But are you saying the United States is not ready to have a woman lead, to become a woman in charge, and the woman to have her whole life exposed? Yeah, that's what it's about. Politics. Politics is about money, and politics is about people. And it seems like the person who has the most money is Pete, because money talks. That's what people want, especially the black community. And usually how it goes, whoever the black community supports is probably the very, very large, high numbers, the next person in office. That's why Trump got into office, because the black community didn't disagree with him, didn't know who he was really about. The black community thought that Trump was a conservative Christian man of God. But if you know anything about the Trump family, you know that his sister, Trump's sister, is a Democratic district federal judge. His sister had to quit her lifelong career of serving as a federal judge in order to have this man sit as the current commander-in-chief and president of the United States. You tell me what that is. She is a Democratic liberal. Trump's sister, his sister. Let me find her name. Right quick. His sister right here. This is Trump's sister right here. This is Trump's sister. Hey Courtney, how you doing? Let me see if I can go ahead and link it. I'm trying to. This is Trump's sister right here. That's Trump's sister, Marianne Trump. Her name is Marianne Trump. Her name is Marianne Trump, and she is a Democratic federal district judge. She is a liberal Democratic federal judge, Marianne Trump. Marianne Trump. And she had to leave her one of her elected jobs, just like have this man serve his position as Commander-in-Chief President of the United States when he got elected. Now, as you know, the Trump family is very big. And the black community, I know, is big as well, too. The black community is very big. And at the same time, I'm doing research on myself. I'm doing research in England. I'm doing research on the Cherokee Indians, the Dakota Indians. I'm doing research all around the world. I'm doing research. But like I said, whoever the black community supports as the next president, right here, whoever the black community supports is probably going to be the person in office. It's really sad to say that. His whole family, the Trump Hines dynasty. It's the Trump Hines dynasty. It's really sad. And I really don't care about Tyler Perry. I really don't care about TD Jakes or Atlanta, Georgia. Because if Atlanta, Georgia really controlled the United States, people, they wouldn't go to Washington, D.C. Politicians wouldn't go to Washington, D.C. Politicians would go to Atlanta, Georgia to do their business. And Atlanta, Georgia will be the capital of the United States. But is Atlanta, Georgia the capital of the United States? No, Atlanta, Georgia is not the capital of the United States. The capital of the United States is Washington, D.C. And Howard University is in Washington, D.C. The capital of the United States is not Dallas, Texas. The capital of the United States is not Los Angeles, California. And it's not Chicago, Illinois. The capital of the United States is Washington, D.C. That's how it is. That's how it is, and that's how it should be. It's not Atlanta, Georgia. The capital is not. It's not Dallas, Texas. It's not Dallas, Texas. It is it's Washington, D.C. The capital of the United States is not Atlanta, Georgia. The capital of the United States is not Dallas, Texas. The capital of the United States is Washington, D.C. But the black community, they don't think that way. They think that everything evolves around Atlanta. Everything evolves around New Orleans, Louisiana. No, it doesn't. No, it does not. And it's not the best thing I will ever have. It's the best opportunity I will ever have in my life. No, you can go somewhere else with that. Whether you're in Atlanta, Georgia, or Dallas, Texas, or Chicago, Illinois, you can go somewhere else with that. This is the best opportunity you will ever have, and this is the only opportunity you ever get. You need to go somewhere else with that mess. Take you and your business and your studio and whatever it is somewhere else. Because I'm not interested. I have to live my life and I have to do my own thing. I have to make my own connections because I came here by myself, and I will live my life by myself. I will meet people, and they do not have to be associated with you or your business or your church or your studio or whatever kind of business you got going on. This is my life, and if someone's going to try to make a movie out of my life, then yeah, I'm going to come back at you for the rights and the royalties and the copyright. And an Academy Award is not enough. Sometimes directors have to spend their whole lives just to get one Academy Award. They have to spend their whole lives. Spike Lee, how old is Spike Lee? Spike Lee is what, in his mid 65, 70 now? What late 50s, early 60s? and he had to wait till he was almost 65 just to get an Academy Award. Well, yeah, it's going to take somebody waiting until they're in their older age to get an Academy Award. That's just the way it has to be. For the community to recognize what you have done for the community, and for us to actually realize when you leave, what are you still going to do with the community? When you're here and when you leave, what are you still going to do with the community? So it's good times while you here are alive, but what happens when you die? What happens when you leave? Are we still going to remember you? Are we still going to remember John Singleton? Are we still going to remember what he did for the black community and the movies and the lives he changed with his movies? Are we still going to remember you for what you did for our community and how you recognize us in a positive light, and that we were not a joke and not to be played around with? The black community is not a joke. The black community is real. The black community is not a joke. And this presidential election is not a joke either. For the black community to elect somebody into office who pretty much could command them to do anything he wants to and bring us back to where we just came out of. And what he's saying is, make America great again. Make America how it was. But you want us to take us back 50, 60, 80 years ago, just back from where we came from? Get out of here. Get out of here. Get out of here. The black community is not a joke. All our struggles, all our fights, all our sit-ins, all our marches, those were not a joke. All the gang violence, the Crips and the Bloods, South Central Los Angeles, New York City, that is not a joke. People still live and die every single day. The black community is not a joke. The black community is not a joke. It is not a joke. This presidential election is not a joke. It's not a joke, and it's nothing to be made fun of. We came out of the civil rights movement for a reason, and we weren't the only ones fighting for our liberties and our values, fighting for the dignity to sit at the same table as white citizens in the same restaurant, fighting for the right to eat, fighting for the right to use the same facilities, fighting for the right to drink water, fighting for the right to be entertained the same way instead of being called jokesters and Aunt Jemimas, fighting for the right to have a job, fighting for the right to go walk through the front door instead of the back door. We are not a joke. We are not a joke. We are not a joke. It's funny that some black people, especially young college students, think it's funny. They think it's funny. Yeah, being funny can make you money. Yes, it can. But at the end of the day, you still have to go through the same thing that your mama and your daddy went through in order to survive in this world. You have to get a job. You have to get a place to live. You have to take care of yourself and your family. And when the hard times come, who's going to be laughing then? Is it a joke then when you can't pay the rent or you can't pay your car note? Is it a joke when your kids are taken away from you? No, that's not a joke. It's not a joke. it surprises me how many famous Hollywood movie directors have actually walked the picket lines, have actually marched with us in our current fights for against police brutality, against abortion, against the rights for women, protect our women, against the rights for law reform. It's amazing. It's not funny, no. When the next president of the United States might be a gay man, and he might turn his back on the black community. Because Pete Gutenberg didn't work for Obama during his political years in Chicago. Pete Buttigieg, this guy right here, he didn't work for the Obama election. He worked for John Kerry's election, for a conservative man's election. You have to know their voting rights. You have to know who they are and their record. You have to really research these people's records, all of them. This guy didn't support Obama. This guy right here. He didn't work for him. Am I the only one to say anything about that? But I graduated from Purdue, which is in South Bend, Indiana. And all this on the New Yorker Times, terrorism, KKK, and the baby boomer generation getting older. Social Security and hate groups. What happens when this gay man is elected into office? Who is he going to first support, this gay man? Who is he going to first support when he's in office? His own people, that's right. They're not gay. He's going to support his own white electorates. That's how it works. He's going to support where the money is. And where the money usually is in the white upper class. You really have to look at his voting record and his working record. Yeah, he's educated. He went to Harvard. A lot of politicians went to Harvard. That's great. But you really have to look at his record. His record. Yeah, he's young. Yeah, he's hot. He has a lot of energy. That's great. But look at his record. Research him. What has he done for black people? He fired one of the first black police chiefs of South Bend, Indiana. Why? Because his team told him he had to. Why would you fire the first black police chief of your city? Why hasn't he even worked for any minorities in Chicago? What minorities campaign has he worked on? I think he worked for a woman's campaign, but has he actually worked for a black person's campaign? Yeah, I graduated from Purdue University. Yeah, in South Bend, Indiana. Yes, I did. But just because I graduated from the same city as this man right here, who is the mayor, doesn't mean that I have to support him. What about Kamala Harris? What about Clay Booker? Why aren't they on this list? Because they don't have enough money? No. It's more than that. Look at these people's records. Even Elizabeth Warren, look at her record. She's proved time and time again that she is of Native American descent. And you know how Trump treats the Native American people. Look at her record. And look at even Joe Biden's record. Yeah, he does have some conflicts with his son. Just like Trump has some conflicts with that he's right now trying to get impeached against because they have conflicts with his teams. and all these political people that support him and give them their money, all these donors. So you have to know everybody's, even Andrew Yang, you have to know all of these, Bernie, you have to know all these people's voting rights and who they support, all their records. You have to know their records. Just because he's young and he's popular and he's gay doesn't mean he supports the black community. So why is the black community voting for him? Hey, you know what? I have to get to know Pete. I really haven't met Pete personally myself. I'm not saying he's a bad person. I myself am part of the queer community. Yes, I've been to San Francisco. I've been to Atlanta. I've had tons of friends that have helped me in my worst situation, being homeless, being on the streets, and some of the very best people that I can actually relate to are part of the gay, transgendered, bisexual, queer community. But part of the black community is very conservative. Now that Trump is in office, very conservative, very Bible going people, and thinking that everybody should get married and have babies and the men should work in the house. Well, you have to understand, if the black community elects a gay man into office, what is really going on with the White House? But I'm queer myself. Why would I not like somebody else who's queer? You have to know their record. You really have to know this person's record. And if he's elected to office, what's the first thing he's going to do? He's going to support the people that put him to office. And who's the people that support him the most and put him to office? The people that got the money. And what he's going to do to the black community? Yeah. He's going to turn his back. And you know what? Trump did that. They do it all the time. But one of the few presidents that have supported the black community, three good presidents that have completely changed the black community. One was shot, one was impeached, and one people don't even know who is right now at his last years of life. JFK, Clinton, and Jimmy Carter. And people don't even know that Jimmy Carter helped build up the Department of Education. He helped build up student loans. He helped enact the federal Pell Grant. It was Jimmy Carter. It was Jimmy Carter that helped enact the federal Pell Grant. It was Jimmy Carter that changed housing and urban development for a lot of struggling low-income black people. And it was also the Clinton administration as well that helped put a lot of the changes that, of course, LBJ did, when he helped pass the Civil Rights Bill, when Dr. King was with us and his whole team. You had Dr. King, like I said, Dr. King wasn't the only one that helped build up the Civil Rights Movement. He wasn't the father of the Civil Rights Movement. There were many other leaders around the world that were doing the same thing that Dr. King was doing at the same time. You can't just think of the Civil Rights Movement and think that Dr. King was the leader. He wasn't. The Civil Rights Movement wasn't just happening in the United States. The Civil Rights Movement was happening all around the world. You had Malcolm X doing the Civil Rights Movement in Chicago. You had Dr. King doing the Civil Rights Movement in Atlanta in the South. You had Gandhi doing the Civil Rights Movement in India. And then you had South African President Nelson Mandela doing the Civil Rights Movement at the same time later on into the 80s in South Africa to end apartheid, to make South Africa a free country against the British monarchy. And because of Nelson Mandela, he really was the true leader of the civil rights movement. Without Nelson Mandela, the world would not have changed. The world, not the United States, the world. And really recognize civil rights for what it really was. People think of Dr. King, they think of the United States. When people think of Nelson Mandela, they think of the world. So who was the leader of the civil rights movement? Nelson Mandela, in my opinion, and Gandhi. It was Nelson Mandela. Dr. King and Malcolm X started the civil rights movement in the 50s. Mahatma Gandhi started the civil rights movement in the 1920s and 1930s with the SALT protest against India and the British government. And then Nelson Mandela continued on the civil rights movement up into the 80s and the 90s, and that's why we call it what it is today. Where is the Nelson Mandela Monument in Washington, D.C.? Where is the Nelson Mandela Monument in Atlanta, Georgia? Where is the Nelson Mandela Monument in Dallas, Texas? In Los Angeles, California? Where is the Nelson Mandela Monument at? He was the real true leader of the civil rights movement because he could carry it on, it continued and carried on and carried on. And South Africa really is the true foundation of Africans and civil rights. Because we were just fighting against our own people. We were fighting against a monarchy that has existed for years and years and years and made us a people of slavery. Nelson Mandela, he didn't only change our rights, he changed our history. But people, they don't think of it like that. They don't think that Nelson Mandela helped change the history of black people. They don't think of it like that. But when you hear Mandela around the world, people recognize it for what it is. He changed the world. White people, black people, even young people nowadays, everybody knows the name Mandela. Even actors who play the Mandela part today are usually pretty much nominated for an Academy Award. Pretty much they're always in them because the name is recognized all around the world. All around the world, Mandela. And yes, King was a great leader. He was a great leader. I'm reading his books right now. Great preacher, great writer. But he wasn't the only one. Yes, we do need King. We need to recognize King for who he is. But he didn't just do things by himself. He had the help of other people who were just as great as he was. Thurgood Marshall. Without Thurgood Marshall, there would have not even existed a federal case for civil rights. Thurgood Marshall. Huey Newton, John Lewis, who's still in Congress today, was one of the founding fathers of the civil rights movement, the Fabulous Four. John Lewis, Dr. King, Huey Newton, and I think there was one more. Yeah, John Lewis, he's still alive today. So Dr. King wasn't all by himself, but he's recognized all around the United States. But yeah, people know the name Dr. King, but the community doesn't really recognize and give it this prestige that they give Mandela. You go anywhere in Africa, Europe, Australia, South America, you say Mandela, people know that name and they respect it. Just like Che Guevara, they respect it. They respect that name because it means fight, it means freedom. It means fighting a kingdom, fighting a monarchy, fighting being called a nigger, fighting our history of being slaves for centuries and centuries and centuries and thousands of years. People recognize that name Mandela. King lived for like 50 years. He lived a short life. Malcolm X, he lived a short life. Mandela carried a legacy. And Gandhi, they carried legacies. Gandhi changed the power of his people. Gandhi, oh my God, Gandhi. And this was around the same time as the whole civil rights movement in the United States. It was happening in the United States, India, South Africa, and all around the world. Because there was a movement going on around the world to change rights for all individuals, not for just rich white people, but for everybody, to bring us up as a society. We want change, we want freedom, equality for everybody. But that freedom does come at a price. It sometimes may mean a war. It sometimes may mean a leader getting killed. It sometimes may mean somebody losing their life. But freedom always comes with a price. Having rights, the ability to exercise your rights, it comes with a price. It always comes with a price. You just can't have freedom without a price. Somebody has to pay for your freedom. Nothing's free. If you think freedom is free, you're very dumb, because somebody has to pay for that. Somebody has to pay for your freedom. So myself, being a part of the Black community, I still have a lot to learn. I'm young. I still got a lot to learn, and I'll go ahead and finish this up right quick, because being a member of the United States Armed Forces, I served in the Army about 8-9 months. My aunt, my cousins, my brothers, my sisters, my friends from high school, everybody, they served. They gave their service to the United States. Everybody, I'm really happy about that. I'm very, very happy, and I'm very, very excited about that. And it is what it is. So I'm very, very excited. I'm very, very happy about that. But at the same time, I know that I'm still a minority in this country. I'm still a minority in the United States of America. I'm still considered a low-class citizen. I'm still considered underneath other people. I'm Black and Mexican descent, Indian descent. I'm a female and I'm single. Right there. I'm considered second class to other people. But that doesn't mean that I have to live and dwell in that life, in that title. That doesn't mean that I have to dwell and live in that cycle. It doesn't mean that, no, I don't have to. This is some good stuff right here. Any comebacks, guys? Any feedback? Just let me know. So I was actually doing some research today on King, what being called a nigger is, and pretty much I'm still learning a lot. I'm still learning a lot. I'm still learning a lot about myself and about my people, and about being. My name is LaQueen, and I'm learning. Changing my name, figuring out who I am, my identity, getting my New York State ID back, being single, being a black woman, getting back on my feet, not accepting less than, learning how to present myself, not being called a joke. Not being called a joke or whatever. And King, sometimes, especially right now when we have the current administration in office, they usually refer to black people as less than. They may call us to our face, especially politicians, that we need their support, we need their votes, we need their money. Are we coming here to the services? We need your services. You have to deal with us. You have to accept our hate. You have to accept our comments. You can't hide from it. You can't run from who you are. You know what I'm saying? You have to take what we give you. You have to take what we give you. You have to do what we say. You have to take being called a nigger. You have to take being called autistic. You have to take being called poor. You have to take this. You have to take it. And if you can't take this, if you don't do what we say, go somewhere else or do something else. And they say, oh, it's nothing personal, just the way it is. Yeah, it is personal. And I could go to some of the pictures here. You know, it just makes you kind of think, like, seriously, like, I live I live all my life like be a good boy, and all the nicknames that they give us is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I mean, it goes all the way back from the 30s, from the old jazz times. I mean, they used to call us Nigger Joes. They used to call us nicknames by famous baseball players. I mean, it's ridiculous. And even some places, they call it, they used to call it what it was. I mean, God, there's just so many. things out there. It's ridiculous, ain't your mama? It's ridiculous. I mean, you could just Google it, It's ridiculous. I mean, there's so many low income, low terms for who we really are instead of actually going back to our history and to Africa and figuring out where the word really came from and how Americans retarded the word and gave us a negative intonation of the word when it really was a word to lift us up. It was a word of our history and where we came from. It wasn't a negative word. It was a very eloquent, high esteem, positive word. It came from an Ethiopian king. People took the word and they retarded it and made us forget our history and who we were as a people. And yeah, I may only be talking to myself right now. I may only be talking to one person or myself or somebody in the school library, I don't know. But people took the word that was to esteem us and to lift us up as a people. They took that word that meant that we are kings and queens. They took it and retarded it and turned it around to a negative intonation to help to make us forget where we came from. To put us down instead of put us up. To forget that we were kings and queens instead of slaves and prostitutes. We were kings and queens and Moors. We control countries. We control dynasties. But people make you easily forget who you are, and they can take your identity away from you and retard it and turn it into negative intonation, turn it into negative for profit for themselves. And you're a prince and you're a king living in a pigsty. When somewhere else around the world, you could be controlling millions and millions of people and lifting up them and yourself as well. But you're here living in a pigsty in an old shackle house and don't even know who you are and where you come from. That's how history works and that's how Hollywood works. Especially with Disney, especially with a lot of these current presidents. They want us to forget where we came from so they can take what we have and use it for themselves. Yeah, it's low. It is low for a reason. It's not a bad word. The word nigger actually comes after the 1594 Ethiopian king called King Nagast Izana II, who was the last king of Ethiopia. They didn't call him his royal majesty, they called him his imperial majesty. The last sovereign king of Ethiopia. It was King Nagast Izana of Ethiopia. He was called the King of Kings. King Nagis Nagas Izana II. He was called the King of Kings. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. Facebook gave me a little warning. Anyway, so pretty much the word nigger is actually a derivative of a royal king. So someone took that word, they took it and derived it from the name of a black monarch in Africa. They took part of that and they retarded it and demonized it against our own people. They demonized a word that was meant to be used for royalty. And now people know that word in a negative intonation, when in reality is used to lift up the black people. I hate it when people do that. They take what you say and retard it around for their own profit. It's like if a king says something, or if a leader says something, then the public will only get about 20% of what the leader really said, unless they hear it either live, or unless they hear it either by live visual, live feedback from that person being on live television, or they hear it in front of the person visually themselves. So I only truly 100% know what the President of the United States is saying, either if it's on a live broadcast or if I hear it from his face to face. Because anything else is just a percentage of what he actually really said. Whether it's Trump, whether it's Obama, whether it's Clinton or Carter or Bush 1 or Bush 2, whoever it is, I literally have to hear it from them face to face, or it has to be a visual live broadcast. Because any kind of feedback, any kind of playback is only a hook on what that person really said. Whether it's liberal media or whether it's conservative media. Democrat or conservative media, whoever it is that's doing a feedback on that wordplay is only giving you their opinion or their reflection of what that person really said. In reality, the public actually needs to hear word by word by word play of what this leader is really saying if we're going to have him the next 4 years in office controlling our country. I don't need a derivative of your name. I don't need a percentage of your name. I need your whole name. I need to know who you really are and what you really said. So this is the end of my broadcast. It's 8:15 here on the East Coast in New York. Lift up. You don't have to be black to listen to this video. Just know that wherever you come from, know your family, know your history, know where you come from, because whatever was meant for bad can actually be turned around for good in your life. So don't let people put you down just because of where you come from. Find out where you come from. Know your history. Know your family. And take whatever pains your family had and use that for your benefit. I love you guys. Peace and love. Shout out to all my military family, friends, cousins, friends from high school, elementary school. I love you guys. Peace and love. Aloha, LaQueen. Terry Battle from upstate New York in Syracuse. Peace and love. Bye.